Every time we eat, our food begins a remarkable journey through a long tube called the alimentary canal. Along the way, chemicals and fluids are added to break down and process the food into substances called nutrients. These nutrients pass into the bloodstream where they are delivered to every cell in our body to provide the energy we need to move and grow. The process of changing food into usable substances is accomplished by various organs that work together to form the digestive system. In this program, we will examine the basic anatomy of the alimentary canal and present beginning concepts of how the digestive system functions to provide nutrients for maintaining a healthy body. The purpose of digestion is to convert food into a form that can be used by the body. Digestion is necessary because foods, as eaten, are too complex in physical and chemical composition to pass through the alimentary canal into the blood for cells to use for energy and tissue building. The nutrients in food are not absorbable or useful until they are digested. Food is made up of three main types of nutrients: carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Food also contains large amounts of water, vitamins, and minerals, also referred to as electrolytes. All these nutrients are essential to maintain a healthy body and life. For energy alone, the average human body needs about 2,000 to 2,500 calories of energy-creating nutrients every day, mainly from glucose, a simple sugar processed from carbohydrates. This is about the amount of energy that is stored in 300 flashlight batteries, or the energy needed to push 2 sports cars up to 200 miles per hour. The digestive system is made up of organs that work together to prepare food for absorption and for use by the millions of cells that make up our body. In addition, other body systems contribute important functions to complete the process. These include the circulatory system that takes nutrients to all the cells of the body, the endocrine system, a group of complex glands and organs that add chemicals and digestive juices needed for digestion, and the urinary system, which assists in the removal of waste products. The anatomy of the digestive tract is composed of a complex set of organs that interact together to process food into absorbable forms to provide energy, growth, and repair of body tissues. If stretched out, the gastrointestinal tract would measure about 9 meters long, or the height of a 3-story building. Working with the gastrointestinal tract are 3 organs that assist digestion: the gallbladder, pancreas, and liver. The gallbladder is a small bag-shaped organ tucked under the liver. Bile produced in the liver is stored in the gallbladder. Bile helps digest fatty foods and contains waste products from the liver that are disposed of through the intestines. The pancreas lies behind the stomach. It supplies enzymes to the small intestines which help complete the chemical digestion and absorption of proteins, lipids, and carbohydrates. Reddish-colored and lying above the stomach, the liver is the body's largest solid internal organ. With more than 500 identified functions, it is metabolism central. It essentially regulates the body's nourishment and growth. It stores iron, vitamins, and minerals for use as needed, helps regulate the flow of glucose to the cells, cleanses the blood, detoxifies poisons and alcohol, and produces lymph fluid. The liver is the largest reservoir of blood in the body and contains all the blood that leaves the absorptive areas of the digestive tract. It's also the only organ that can regenerate itself. So keep that in mind when someone you love needs a liver donation. The digestive process begins in the mouth before you even take a bite of food. Initially, digestion is triggered by the sight, smell, or thought of food when we are hungry. Smelling food, for example, stimulates the nervous system, which signals the mouth to secrete water and enzymes and the stomach to release digestive juices. 30 to 50% of all gastric secretions occur during this phase. So by the time you actually take a bite of food, the digestive system is primed and ready to go to work, chomping at the bit, so to speak. The journey through the alimentary canal begins with ingestion, which happens when we take a bite of food. The action starts in the oral cavity, also known as the buccal cavity, but usually just called the mouth. There, chewing, also called mastication, and movement of the tongue begins the mechanical processing of food. Fluids and chemicals are added along the way and continues in both the stomach and the small intestine. The tongue assists in manipulation of the food to help with mastication. In addition, the surface of the tongue contains taste buds that respond to sweet, salt, sour, and bitter tastes. These tastes combine with our sense of smell to assist in the sensory analysis of our food. Why does the smell of food when we are hungry make our mouth water? Because our sense of smell, combined with the taste buds on our tongue, trigger our nervous system to begin producing saliva in anticipation. Saliva is a mix of water and several other chemicals that begin the digestive processing of food and is released from salivary glands in the mouth to help break up the food and to aid in swallowing it by wetting and lubricating it. An enzyme called ptyalin is also secreted in the mouth, which begins the process of digesting starchy foods like potatoes and bread. Salivary glands are positioned in numerous places around the mouth. The quantity of saliva produced by these glands varies, but combined, they produce up to 1.5 liters of saliva per day. As we chew, saliva helps to soften the food into a semi-solid lump called a bolus that is easy to swallow. After the bolus develops in the mouth, it's ready to swallow. The soft palate at the roof of the mouth partially closes. The tongue rises to block off other openings, and swallowing occurs. Food moves to the esophagus and into the stomach. The trip through the esophagus into the stomach is driven by the power of peristalsis. Peristalsis is wave-like contractions that normally move along the esophagus from the throat to the stomach. However, when something is wrong, like when you are sick, the direction of peristalsis can change and change quickly with unpleasant results. Throughout most parts of the digestive tract, food and waste products are moved along by peristalsis, not gravity. Because of peristalsis, you can stand on your head and still swallow food. This comes in handy for astronauts in space where there is no gravity. They can dine by the light of the earth and still eat normally because of peristalsis. Digestion is the process of converting food into a usable form. The stomach plays a major role in this process, and it controls how much digested food will be passed into the small intestine, where it is further broken down for use. When food enters the stomach from the esophagus, it presses against the stomach walls, stimulating glands in the walls to secrete more gastric juices. These juices include hydrochloric acid and the digestive enzymes pepsin and chymosin, which begin the process of digesting proteins. Peristaltic action in the stomach walls churns the food to form a soupy mixture called chyme. Chyme is composed of liquefied particles of food. Because of all the digestive juices and acids, a healthy stomach has a very high acidity level, very high. In fact, a single drop of stomach acid can burn through a piece of wood. The stomach walls are lined with mucus to protect the stomach from its own secretions. The stomach walls have many folds called rugae that allow the stomach to stretch and expand. Normally, the stomach holds about a liter of food and drink. But if you've ever eaten a lot and felt like your clothes got tighter, you were right, because the stomach can expand to 4 times its normal size, about 4 liters. This is like eating a whole box of cookies, then drinking an entire gallon of milk. Your stomach can handle it, but it's not a healthy thing to do. The stomach releases small squirts of chyme into the small intestines. While some digestion continues here, mostly this is where absorption takes place. Secretions from the gallbladder, pancreas, and intestinal walls aid in this process. From the small intestines, nutrients are absorbed and carried to the liver for further processing or elimination. Absorption takes time depending on the type of nutrient. For example, fat and protein absorption takes longer than sugars. In some disease conditions, the movement of chyme is so rapid in our body that we become ill. Of course, the opposite is true as well. Though only 2.5 centimeters in diameter, the small intestine is long, about 7 meters long in fact, the height of a 2-story building. It fits inside the abdominal cavity because it is tightly folded, but the internal surface area available for digestion is multiplied many times over because of its many folds and ridges. Plus, the entire inner surface of the small intestine is covered with tiny finger-like projections called villi, which are themselves covered with even tinier projections called microvilli. Due to all the folding and projections, the absorptive area of the small intestine is roughly 250 square meters, the size of a tennis court. Microscopic blood vessels called capillaries and lacteals, which are part of the lymph system, are intertwined inside the villi. And it is here that the actual absorption of nutrients takes place. Capillaries absorb amino acids and simple sugars, while lacteals absorb fatty acids and glycerol. Most digestion and absorption takes place in the small intestines. What is left of the chyme passes into the large intestine, which is also called the colon. It is here that any remaining nutrients, vitamins, minerals, and water are absorbed. An organ, called the appendix, is located at the first part of the large intestine. Though the appendix has no known function, it is often the site of an infection that requires it to be removed. Microscopic bacteria like bacteroids, Lactobacillus acidophilus, Escherichia coli, and Klebsiella are normal inhabitants of the large intestine and help complete the digestion process. The chyme, which is mostly solid waste at this point, travels through the large intestine and into the rectum, where it is stored as semi-solid waste called feces until excreted via the anus. And so the food we eat reaches the end of its journey through the alimentary canal. This journey usually takes 10 to 12 hours. Along the way, vitamins, minerals, and other nutrients are selected from this complex pathway and used as the fuel and building material for the body. And through the same system, what the body cannot use and other waste material is removed. Intake and elimination are both provided by the digestive system.